Wellspring, Calgary. So I know some of you are familiar with what Wellspring, Calgary does. You've been out before, I think.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah, so it's been a while. So Nancy and her colleague Bobby will be talking to us about what's changed in Wellspring and the programs that they have available, some of it coming this fall.
My name's Nancy and I'm here from Wellspring, Calgary. This is my colleague Bobby. I'm the center manager at the Carma House location, which is the location in the Northwest or the Montgomery area. So Bobby and I share an office, and like many nonprofits, we team up in a little small office and do the best work that we can. So thanks for inviting us. So I was really happy to hear the laughter in here, because the last time I did a presentation, it made me a little gun shy, so to speak. I presented at the Tom Baker to a group of oncologists, and boy, did I ever feel like a fish out of water. So I'm really happy to see the smiling faces, and nobody has a white coat on and is sitting like this. They're a wonderful group, but just not my cup of tea. So, our tagline is "No one has to face cancer alone," and our hope today is that we can share a little bit about Wellspring so that those of you who aren't familiar with us maybe want to come and check out one of our facilities to see if there's something there that speaks to you, something that you feel comfortable taking part in. So, our vision is, like I said, no one has to face cancer alone. And I think that the most important thing, we try to instill is that we are a warm and welcoming place. One of my very first days at Wellspring, there was 2 women that came in. They were laughing and talking. They had beautiful long hair, and they were going downstairs to take an exercise class. And they came upstairs, and I was in my office, which is right near the front door, and these women had no hair. And I looked, and their hair was in their hands. They were both holding their wigs. And to me, that just spoke volumes of the fact that they felt comfortable enough to take their hair off and be in a place where they were welcome and secure and safe. This is a couple of things that people have said. When I was being treated for cancer, I lost my workplace, most of my community, my confidence, and my spirit. Wellspring has been a new home and a safe place for me, where I can be cared for, comforted, supported, and have been able to regain my sense of identity. This slide is actually our founding members. So these folks, John on the far side, Rita in the middle, and Barb on the end. Greg on the other side is Rita's husband. So the 3 that I mentioned, John, Rita, and Barb, they all had a cancer experience. They all went to the Tom Baker. They all were treated well, and they happened to meet each other. They talked about their experience of cancer. They shared the fact that while they were happy with all the medical support they received, wouldn't it be nice if there was a place that they could go that was free of doctors, no one was going to poke them and prod them, that they could be comfortable in a surrounding where they could look after their wellness, a place that they might take a yoga class or take an art class, some of the things that they found to be helpful for them. And if it could all be under one roof with bright windows and cozy chairs, then that might be an opportunity that they wanted to look at creating. So they found out that there was a Wellspring in Toronto. And that Wellspring started around 1992. An oncologist and a patient got together and said, there's got to be something more. So John actually traveled to Wellspring, Toronto, had a conversation with them, said, I think this is it, guys. And so the story began. And Rita and Barbara and Greg are still involved. Sadly, John passed away just before the opening of Carma House. So there's a beautiful wind chime outside the front door, and that was a gift to us before he passed. And it's still there. So we keep that so that we can remember him. This is actually a laughter yoga, which we have at our center. And it's just a group of people having fun in our great room, which is a large sunny room in the center. So we do our best to work with other cancer organizations. We're really about building a sense of community, and we offer our space freely to other cancer support groups to run support groups in our facility free of charge. We're completely funded by donation, and all of our programs are evidence informed. So we don't bring any programs into Wellspring without some research behind them. This is a picture, some pictures of Carma House. So it's about a block from the Bow River, and it's in a beautiful location. I'm told, because this is before my time, that there was a little tiny white house on this property. And when John and Rita and Barb opened the little gate to look at the property, they said it was like a secret garden. And the hedges, which are short in this picture, are very, very tall right now, about 12 feet. So I'm looking for someone to trim the hedges for us. We have lots of volunteers, but we do have a gardener that she facilitates a gardening program, and she comes in and takes care of our garden and plants these beautiful pots that are on our deck. And these are just pictures, so it's like a home, not a sterile environment at all. We also have a second location, and some people don't know this. It's in the industrial area near the Blackfoot Inn, and we were challenged to make this beautiful space in an industrial area. And as you can see, some pictures, it is gorgeous. This is our temporary location because we will be creating another location in the far south. But right now, that's just a little picture of showing you where we're at in relation to the Tom Baker and the Holy Cross, where the psychosocial team is, and then where Fountain Court is down in the corner. Not too far, but a little further south, because we were busting at the seams in our center in Carma House. Too many people and not enough space. So the Randy Odell House is set to open. It says in our little slide presentation, it said August of 2019, but Bobby and I decided it's probably not going to be ready in August. We were shooting for the fall of 2019. And that's going to be far down in the Seton location by the South Health campus. So that is going to be a much bigger space. It's going to be 3 times the size of Carma House. And we already think Carma House is pretty big, but we learned a lot from Carma House. Those that take yoga at the end of the day, there's a meditative piece that is attached to most yoga classes. We learned that when you have ceramic tile in the kitchen and the yoga studio is right underneath that, it's not very soothing or quiet when people are getting a cup of coffee. So we're making changes about that. So now I'm going to turn it over to Bobby.
So all of the programs and the membership at Wellspring is free of charge. So when we're up here talking to you about it, we have nothing to sell. It's just a place for anybody who has cancer to come and just take programs and be with other people who get it. No referral required. The only stipulation is, unfortunately, you do have to have cancer, and it's also for people, the caregivers as well. All of our programs that we offer are run by professionals. They have to have at least 3 years experience. We don't just take willy-nilly people off the street that say, hey, I teach yoga, can I come? No, you have to be experienced and an expert in what you do. And we are endorsed by the Tom Baker Cancer Center. So some of the things we try to do is reduce the the barriers for participation. So we do have peer support volunteers who are trained, and some of our peer support volunteers have either had cancer or they are caregivers themselves. And we have a lending library, so you can come and take out books, DVDs, CDs. We have child minding. Some of our members that come to cancer have kids, and they don't have daycare for them. So when possible, we try to arrange a time where a volunteer can come in and actually look after their kids while they're taking part in our programs. And all of the programs that we offer have been researched and proven to help people who have cancer. So our programs are, like I mentioned earlier, evidence-informed. And there's 4 pillars that we have. So we have education, movement, expressive arts, and caregiving. So that would cover the first 4 bullets you see there. And then we also discovered in talking to our members that we needed to come up with a few other pillars. So we offer programs for our young adults. We have a whole speaker series, which is open to the public. So basically, you can bring every family member and friend that you want to any of the speaker series that we have. And then we also have grief and bereavement. So we have a non-denominational chaplain in residence, Bob Glasgow, and Wilson Miranda. And so any of our members, and as well as those who have recently bereaved, can make a one-on-one appointment. So our educational programs, we have a whole section. So brain fog, for example, lots of people who, when they go through chemo and radiation, they get that fuzziness. And this is a class that just sort of helps them navigate through that, and little tips and tricks to figure out how to start remembering things. Our returning to work program, it looks like when we want to go back to work, what does that look like? Maybe you didn't like your job. Maybe that's not the best place for you to go back to. If you did like your job, what does it look like? Are you going to jump back in full time, or are you going to start off part time? And this class just sort of helps people navigate through that. And then we have a whole speaker series, which I talked about earlier. And we have a large variety of topics, and we bring in experts locally and from around the country to come and speak. Some of our topics we've had in the past are immunotherapy, sleep, the science of Tai Chi and Qigong. We also have an expressive arts program. So you can see some of the samples that we have up on the screen. As the program coordinator, I get to read the evaluation comments. And one of my favorite comments that I read was, for 2 hours while I'm taking my art programs, I forget that I have cancer. And that just speaks volumes to me right there. We're doing our job right. If people can come and just forget that they have cancer and just take programs and enjoy themselves, it's reducing their stress level. It's very therapeutic, relaxing, calming, and a lot of the art that people learn, then they can take home and they can practice at home. I just recently read another comment where somebody said, I'm going to stop watching TV and start doing more art.
It's that Macintosh.
It's not going to my next slide.
Well, I think it's the opera.
Cue the music.
Just last 2 months.
Oh, I have to click there. Okay. So we also have some movement and meditation programs. So there's been a lot of research that connected to exercise in cancer and how it releases our stress. There's better outcomes after treatment. It rebuilds our energy and it decreases depression. So exercise is good, and we have lots of different choices. We also have caregiving and self-care programs, which I talked about earlier. At Wellspring, we strongly believe that the caregivers are just as important as the person who has cancer, because those people, we need to take care of them so that they can take care of their loved ones. So any of the programs that we offer can be for caregivers. You don't even have to come with the person that you're caregiving for. And we have some programs that are very specific just for caregivers, that only caregivers can go to.
And our caregiver program offers, we have space available for friends. So if your best friend is going through cancer and you're the one that's taking them to hospital appointments and treatment and things like that, then there's a place at Wellspring for you as well. So that's important for you to know.
We also have a whole bunch of young adult programs. That's one of the ones that Wellspring Calgary developed, because in talking to the people who are young adults, we found out that they discovered they didn't like being with maybe older people, that they needed that connection with people their own age. So we have a whole realm of young adult programs, and like Saturday night, they're all going to Global Fest. So anyways, we're quite proud of that.
So as center manager, part of my responsibility is to look after our volunteers, because we wouldn't be anywhere without our volunteers. We have over 170, and not as many as Meals on Wheels, that's for sure. But we have over 170, and last year they provided over 10,000 hours of service to the organization. So they do things like childminding and front desk support and program support, and we're thrilled to have the caliber of volunteers that we have. So I like this quote too. I've told many friends about my experiences at Wellspring Calgary and how extraordinary they have been. Wellspring has changed my attitude and approach to illness. And another member said, I literally went from wanting to die to wanting to live. Again, like Bobby said earlier, we feel like we're doing our job when we hear comments like this. And you're not alone. So that's why we're here. And that is the end of our presentation. So I'll open it up to questions for Bobby or I.
Easy crowd, easy crowd.
What we didn't say is, if you felt like you wanted to check us out, you just have to come down to Wellspring, either location, Fountain Court or Carma House, and have a tour. We'll show you around. We'll let you know a little bit more about the programs. We'll look at your needs, interests, time, and energy, where you're at. Some people come and we don't see them again. Some because they just decide it's not for them. Other people come and they're back day after day, participating in all kinds of different programs. And I have to say that sadly, we don't have as many men at Wellspring as we do women. So I wonder why that is. I should put that question out to you folks. How do we get more men into this wonderful setting? We cannot offer beer or chicken wings.
We could offer chicken.
We did have a good meal today at Wellspring. Yes.
But there's a lot of facilities there, and it's quite an undertaking. Where do the funds come from?
Donation.
All the
100%.
okay.
We get no government funding.
At this point.
At this point, we do the opposite.
Yes.
Nancy, how do you go from identifying a need for a program to then finding somebody to write or develop that program to then present it?
We have a, do you want to answer that? We have a program committee. And so everything is vetted through the program committee. For example, one day I was approached by someone who thought that, who believes that hula hoop exercise is really beneficial and really important. And so she came and did a pitch to our program director at that time. And then it's run through the program committee. If a program does get passed through the committee, and we believe that there's enough research to support the benefits of it, then we will look for someone who is an expert in that field. So we would post. Obviously, that person may have a connection with hula hoop people and who teach it, and so that's where we would start. We're not running hula hoop classes at Wellspring, but that's just an example.
Roughly how long does that take?
You know what?
From identifying it to the point that you're offering?
Sometimes it can take 6 months to a year, because we really want to make sure that the research is there to speak to the need, and we want to find an expert to be able to run that program. Now we've had a couple of our facilitators design programs. The one that Bobby mentioned, or you didn't mention, was Take Charge. Take Charge is a program that supports people when they're going through cancer. Just do that. Take charge of their wellness and their treatment and what is important to them, and be their best own advocate. So that was a year in the making. It does take time. And then of course there has to be a budget, and we have to make room in our program schedule to make that happen. Our programs are changed or modified 3 times a year. So we have spring, summer, fall, and winter. And each of those seasons we have a new program schedule that comes out that looks like this. And it's full of programs that we offer.
And do you have an assessment program? Like an assessment process, I mean?
We do evaluate the programs. So we have our members fill out an evaluation after each program. So if there's a program for 4 weeks, the evaluation goes out. Our members probably dislike that process the most, because if they're in a few programs and they're all ending at the same time, that's a lot of evaluations. But we're looking at switching that up a little bit. But yeah, they're really evaluated to make sure that we're meeting people's needs. Somebody else have a question over?
With the new cancer hospital, are you going to be involved with them?
Well, my hope is that they will endorse us just like the Tom Baker does. We will get to know them and they'll get to know us. So in terms of working collaboratively, yes. We don't duplicate services. So for example, the Tom Baker has a psychosocial department, so we don't offer counseling at our Wellspring. In Toronto, they don't have the same supports, So they do offer counseling. You had a question back there?
Yes, thank you. Wellspring is a tremendous program. And I looked at it many years ago.
Did you?
One thought that I had at the time, and I was very familiar with our own activities here, is that once a cancer patient passes away, there's a gap. A gap in the caregiver or partner or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that gap in our own organization, I still see it. And I'm wondering, I saw it at Wellspring, and I'm wondering if you tried to address that in any way.
That is an excellent question. I saw that gap too, and as a team and as an organization, it was becoming more and more apparent to us. Now, if any of you have ever heard of Bob Glasgow, he is our chaplain in residence, and he is an expert in grief and bereavement. And he cautions us and says, you don't do that well, guys. You do cancer well, so make sure that you're referring people to the AHS Grief Support Group, which we do. But what we found was when someone was well connected to us and their loved one passed, they were being scooted out the door a little bit quickly. And that didn't sit well with us. So we are working with people on an individual basis based on their connection with us. There's some people that come to Wellspring a couple of times. They feel like it's not for them. They lose their loved one. And that isn't the time for us to jump in with our case and say, hey, how about a relationship now? So if someone has a relationship with us, we try to follow that through until they're ready to move on. And in some cases, it might be in a volunteer capacity as a peer support volunteer, a caregiver peer support volunteer. So we're really working hard to make that better because we recognize it too.
One further question to final. You have a lot of volunteers. What kind of training do you provide for them relative to the goals and the mission that you've got and how they should be performing, behaving, if you will, within the public environment that you've got?
And that's my job. So we have a 2.5-day training program that our folks in Toronto designed, the Cancer Care Support Foundation. And we have a psychologist come in and do the training with us. Myself and our other center manager, Nikki Fair, are present for the whole 2.5-day training. And we talk about the impact that cancer has on us. We talk about the impact that cancer has on individuals who come through our door. We talk about difficult conversations and meeting people where they're at. And we also do a piece on our programs so that our volunteers don't try to sell someone 20 programs when they walk in the door. And a whole lot of what we do is talk about listening. Because if we miss the boat and we jump in and say, you should take this, you should take that, oh, you got it, then they might not come back. We might scare them away. So it really is about listening. And Bobby and I are right there at the front desk, so we hear and we will support volunteers when they need it. When we see them with that look on their face like, holy cow, I don't know how to handle this one, we're up there supporting them because we want our members and our volunteers to have a good experience.
How close do you get to the clinical problems or issues or decision making that some of these clients of yours may have?
Well, just like your rules, we don't offer medical advice, and we don't judge. In fact, we have a code of conduct that we go through with each of our members because we don't want other members to judge or talk about or push down someone's throat what they're doing and what's important to them. We want people to access their own treatment freely.
One of the strengths of our Warriors group is, in fact, we do not shy away from sharing experiences. And that is different than giving medical advice.
That's exactly right.
And so
we talked about that.
we fully embrace the concept of sharing experience and gaining knowledge so that the individual is better informed in how they can approach their oncologist or neurologist. That's not giving medical advice, but I'm hearing that you shy away from that.
I would say that's exactly our approach. So we wouldn't give medical advice, but we would certainly allow a peer support volunteer to share their own experience, but preface it with just that. This is my own experience, this is what worked for me. You'll need to find your own path. But lots of times it's around how I manage symptoms from chemo. Well, on my second day, I usually did this, this, and this. We don't get into a lot of conversations around when people say, what do you think I should do? What would you do if you were in my situation? I don't think any of us can answer that fairly.
We have those questions.
So how do you handle it?
We share our experiences and we don't hold back. And we've had those questions tonight. We can't make the decision. That's not our purpose and role, but we certainly share our experience.
And our members share too. Like when the members start taking their programs, they start making friends and they start talking about their experiences and they're sharing all the time.
Correct.
Well, we just really encourage them not to judge. Someone wants to do the holistic route and the next person is going the medicinal route. You can't judge that. You know, they have to do their journey the way they want to do it.
That's an appropriate approach. Not to that.
Are there any other questions? I want to be aware of time.
I just want to leave with one thing. Recently at the Randy O'Dell groundbreaking ceremony, there was a gentleman there that was been participating in programs at Vanport. And I hadn't met him, so I went up to him afterwards and shook his hand and introduced myself. And one of the things he talked about when he gave his speech was more men need to come out. Get out of the house, get over it, and just start taking programs at Wellspring. It's okay. So I welcome you all to come down, even just for a tour.